In a world where undead pirates were made a playable faction in a popular strategy game, where navies definitely used to be a thing, and their entire game plan revolved around sailing the high tides, stacking, pillaging, and building obscenely cool ships, somehow that package did not include naval combat, until now. Come with me and you will see a world of blue imagination as ships of the line cross the T against this undead menace and unleash their broadsides in a naval battle for the ages. Batten down the hatches, swab your poop decks, and keel haul the lot of them. It's the Vampire Coast vs. Marienburg Land Ships here, and you best start believing in ghost stories, my pretties, because you're in one. Good thing about guns in the Warhammer universe is they actually work against ghosts and zombies and other creepy crawlies of the depths. So let's find out together if these new land ships are worth their salt when they take to the water in the realm of Aminar. Being serious though, I think a lot of us would love to see real Dreadfleet style naval combat come to Warhammer at some point, but even doing justice to like 3 or 4 unique ships for every faction, not even full rosters for them, would be such a goddamn balance nightmare and so much work it would literally just be its own game. How do you make dwarf ironclads and submarines face off against beastmen narwhals and dark elf black arcs the size of entire battle maps? What would the poor wood elves or greenskins do with ships made of poop and tree bark? Maybe one day, but probably not. In the meantime, Imperial's going all out with the theme here. Northern Mariner halberd front line in a commanding vantage point. Naval battle where even elevation comes into play, supported by Obstinite gyrocopters on the flanks. Shades of Vietnam-era Hueys blasting Fortunate Son, and a host of war wagons up front. The Vampire side, obviously we're going heavy on the Necrofex Colossi. They've long been the shippiest unit in the game, only just recently challenged in any meaningful way. Crabs, Depth Guard, Sartosan pirates with cutlasses, and hordes of zombies swimming alongside as well. Free Company set up a nasty little ambush at the start. Pistols already popping off as Queen Mama Bess begins her bombardment. The cannons on both sides will signal the beginning. And this should get really interesting, because while the landships are probably the better overall unit, the culverin on the prow up front is really designed for sniping single entities, crabs, that sort of thing. So Empire has an advantage in that element. The Vampires have Queen Bess and Necrofex, which are better for clearing out hordes of infantry, especially with that split-shot swivel gun the Colossi like to use. So, though we'd be missing Krakens, Sirens, and Megalodons like Sea of Thieves, feels like the theme is alive and well here, because we got the crabs. If you've ever been to the Outer Banks before, we get our crabs from Dirty Dicks. Now, if we wanted to get really spicy here, I think we'd need a custom modded map that's bigger than this one. It still has the underwater theme. Throw in the High Elves, maybe some Merworm modded units, that kind of thing. Get a 3v3 popping off with the Gunpowder Smoke and Spectacle mod for the ambiance and all that visual flair. Queen Bess is popping off right now, doing some serious work on the Northern Mariners. Already routed off a unit. The Free Company militia in the rear were not spotted right away. Don't really expect to get ambushed on a map this small, and 4 of them were behind, shooting right as the game started, trimming the Vampire Coast sails with flintlock drive-bys. Crabs are pissed, but some of the gunnery mob crustaceans have already crumbled out, and even Queen Bess took some nasty volleys too. All 4 Free Company will die for their sins now. They'll be overrun, but maybe a worthwhile trade if you're the Empire, especially if Queen Bess does crumble. A lot of decent infantry on the Empire side with that Northern Mariner front line, so definitely don't want to be losing that bombardment ability from max range right at the start of the match. Sartosan pirates have engaged the Flagellants on the flanks, and that is a perfect engagement for them. No armor on the naked raving lunatics means their cutlasses should slice deep into flesh. I do miss the OG implementation of Sartosan pirates, even though Lumberjack was probably a better name for them back then. In early access back in the day, they had boarding axes, armor piercing, and bonus versus infantry, which made them amazing versus dwarfs. And I think one of my favorite battles ever was the first game of the Ever Chosen against Pippington, where I went full Vanguard Morgul rush with Sartosan Lumberjacks up front. Hunters just straight up mulched the Dobby that game. Super fun. Crabs are doing the same thing. The Northern Mariners here, backed up by Depth Guard, they should be able to push through on the Empire left flank and push the high ground. Maybe get those Marienburg Land Ships moving so they can't snipe out all the Necrofex Colossi at the start of the match. The Crabs and Depth Guard do have some serious work to do. They have multiple layers of defense they must break through before they can get into that squishy center. And then their reward will be chasing a heavily armored ship with a line that can blast them with repeater volleys and can't realistically be caught. It would actually be sick if units could board the land ships and kill the crew. Might open a can of worms there, but in theory it would be really fun. As Marienburg sets sail for Fail, Queen Bess continues to pound sand. Would you consider her a howitzer or a bombard? Maybe just a big-ass gun. Not really sure. Crabs are pushing through the center. One of my favorite foods, Alaskan king crab. Pop them in some melted butter and you've got yourself a feast for kings. But rotting leviathans probably don't taste super good. I don't think really anything on the vampire side, except maybe a few of the vampire waifus taste really all that great. And even then, I don't really have much experience banging vampire ladies, so you shouldn't trust me at my perspective on this topic anyway. I didn't star in True Blood or Twilight. I'm not Taylor Lautner handsome, okay? I don't twinkle in UV light. I'll tell you what is banging. These blunder biznitches and these queen mamas. Dickhands be exploding all across the battlefield. It's getting hot and heavy. It's been catastrophic carnage since minute 1 and shows no signs of abating. War wagons just drove right up to the front of the Dickhand line and said, come fight me in melee. We'll shoot you at point blank range. Crabs are pushing really hard on the Empire right now, and they're about to hit the halberd line. Gyrocopters coming in from the flank. They dealt with the Sartosan pirates. Those cutlass-wielding maniacs have been slain to a man. And the Empire has staggered their ships to the line here. Actually really smart. They've got multiple layers of defense, so even once you get through those initial waves of halberds, you gotta hit a few, maybe the Amethyst Land Ship and a few more of those Marienburg Land Ships, but still contest a bunch more further up that hill. You'll be exhausted by that point, so it'll be even more difficult for the halberds and the crabs to really cut through all this armor. Meanwhile, Black Lion's Hellbuster volley gun ROR still destroying everything down below. Some of the war wagons have routed off, but the landships are getting really good shots in with the culverins and have racked up good damage into the gunnery wights, the crabs, and some of these Necrofax colossi. One of the rotting leviathans has made it to the top of that hill and is trying to cut his way through to the landships further along the crest. This one making its way through the halberds and oh, big time charge. Not a lot of damage there, but busting up their formation and maybe opening up some opportunity for the Depth Guard and the Gallows Giant with its waterproof flamethrower to start causing some carnage in and amongst these Imperial squadrons. More Imperials pushing through from the side. Northern Mariners coming in all the way around the flank and into the Gallows Giant, into the Necrofax Colossi. Dickhands will rally to their defense, charging forward, get some pistol volleys in at point blank range. Crabs are coming in too. It's a very important fight right here because these Colossi do not want to be tied up in melee, except maybe for the Gallows Giant itself. That thing does, I think, have a bonus versus infantry and much better melee stats, considering it's a Regiment of Renown. Gold Chevron. One of the rotting leviathans has fallen, though, turned into mincemeat and fish food. Landships can be such a difficult unit to deal with because it can just sit there and pound you with machine gun volleys at essentially point-blank range. Crabs have big hitboxes. You can't miss that anyway. Noctilus bringing down a big bombardment. A lot of those cannonballs missed, though, which I'm surprised about. Usually a lot more accurate, but to be fair, I haven't used him a whole lot in Game 3. So maybe that's been nerfed or it's just worse than it was in Warhammer 2. If you have homing missiles, I'm not really sure how you miss something as big as a Marienburg Land Ship, but the Imperial Engineers blasting forth with their repeater volley guns. Amethyst Land Ship has been in the front ranks for a while here and looking a little bit worse for their wear. Bloody Reaver Depth Guard from Noctilus got around it and really sliced them up with the halberd, and it will drop soon. A couple more shots from pretty much anything, or really just a couple stabs or claw rending in melee will do enough to finish the job. Yeah, one more hit, and here she blows! Abandon ship and abandon faith, all ye who enter this accursed realm. Crabs have died in droves, but they are making that ascension up the final hill. Can they take down the beasts that wait them on the other end? Noctilus has a lot of work here left to do. Summoning zombies can maybe help tie him up in melee for a little bit, but he's going to need some punching power to get through their armored hulls. Bloody Reaver Depth Guard will help a lot on that front. So will the crabs, but will they have enough bodies to take the hilltop from this Imperial defense? They're holding strong for now. Here comes the push. Noctilus is currently being skewered, straight up shish kebabbed by that Luminarch of Hysh. He's taken a lot of damage, getting some good shots in on return, though, against those Imperial Engineers on their mechanical horses. Death Guard on this side have killed all kinds of Northern Mariners, but still more halberds are pushing forward. And looks like they'll be stymied. Death Guard are going to crumble out on that side, which means Vampire Coast has lost some pressure on the left flank anyway. More Colossi make it to the top, and they will activate their super speed bonus, and all that mass, all that armor, ramming action, boarding action time, as yet more Dickhands climb the hilltop. Halberds pushing forward, crabs going after the big ships, and they're all coming down the hill. They're all going into melee. We've seen some powerful broadsides and all kinds of spectacular gunpowder play. These landships are looking real strong right now, and they're looking to run over this horde of vampire infantry. Luminarch of Hesh wheeling into position. A perfect counter to the Necrophag's Colossi. Does not need much time to bring those landships down. And the Vampire Coast might be running out of bodies to chunk through all this armor. Necrophag's Colossi, quite a few of them are looking real low and may crumble out soon. They are into melee, but the landships can run unless the crabs get a full surround off. Steam Tank, Master Engineer, tied up. Invocation of the Heck, hitting a big swath of the vampire front line. Death Guard are still alive, barely hanging on. The hunger may allow them to sustain, but that seems a bit presumptuous considering they'll be getting blasted apart by all these Gatlings. And there's some unholy abomination. 4 landships all together have merged into one hellish ship centipede. Stem to stern, they have formed Voltron, and I don't think the vampire pirates have enough to take it down. Obstinate Gyrocops are being blasted out of the sky by the rotting Promethean gunnery mob. Gallows Giant letting loose with a gout of flame, napalm covering their decks, but they're not super weak to flame. Not with all that armor, more deckhands being summoned, and Noctless will charge forward with his swivel guns. But man, they are getting absolutely torn apart by all this gunfire, and that's just a bastion right there. All of those ships together, it'd be so sick to see a cannonball just go through like in Fall of Samurai and cause a boiler room explosion or something. It's not gonna happen here. Necrophag's Colossi crumbles out, loses a leg, and it is army losses. Noctless is gone, and so too is his army. Well, man, that was fun. Really unique battle there. Thank you to Zach B. Sane for joining me with that one. Don't get to play battles like that all too often. Really flavorful map that hasn't been seen in quite some time. I don't even know if it really exists in Warhammer 3 outside of custom battle. There may be 1 or 2 quest battles on it, but I'm not sure that's the end of the Vampire Coast campaign. But that was a Vortex cinematic storyline kind of thing. I don't think that quest battle exists in Warhammer 3, which is unfortunate. One of the bigger issues with porting all this stuff over is that some of it just gets left behind. Some really good work. Battle of the Eternal Tides, one of my favorite maps for sure. Would love to see a bigger version of it so we could get more pirates and more naval battles in on the action. Maybe get some Black Ark Corsairs, Lokir Fellheart, get a Black Ark floating above, dropping some bombardments, that kind of thing. Be super fun. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed it, and plenty more content coming soon. We're gonna try to get back on the train of replays, at least 3 or 4 a week if we can.